I don't know how to interpret this, because historically, for Blood Bowl, they never reproduced any of those card packs. Once they were sold out, they were sold out. Until Season 2 came out, and now they're reprinting them, but they're technically new cards. This is technically not a new card. This has been printed before, so it makes me wonder, is Necromunda going to have an updated version of the game? Hi, I'm John, and this is Dice Paper Miniatures. This is a segment pulled from my Twitch live stream, or what I call a live clip. These are typically segments pulled from the live stream that focuses on one specific topic from that live stream. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to this page, as well as hitting the notification bell. And then, if you want to see the entire live stream, I highly encourage you to also follow me on Twitch at Dice Paper Minis. Thank you so much. Now here is today's live clip. But yeah, we're gonna be focusing on the recent announcement from the Warhammer community, for, like they always do, for basically a preview for next week's pre-order. I'm gonna mostly talk about Necromunda today. This was released yesterday on Sunday. This is the full article. It has a bunch of other stuff. This Hive Scum box set actually came out late last year. One of those classic scenarios where a lot of content was sold out. Now the floor tiles are still sold out, and I'll get to everything else that's still here for sale. But basically, you'll notice that Under Hive box set, it's not well, it's back. This was unavailable for a while. Now it's back. But the one they're advertising here, I believe, is a different size. I believe there were 3 sprues, if I remember correctly, that were in this box set. So we'll bring it up. It was $42. It's still available. So of the 3 sprues, there were basically, you can make 4 off of each sprue. Here's the sprue right here. It sounds like they're re-releasing this, but in a smaller configuration, kind of like they did with, we'll go back here, kind of like they did with the Ogryns. So initially, this Ogryn kit was like an $80 kit, and it had up to 6 models in that kit. Now it's a $40 kit, and you only get 2. There's variations you can make, of course, but you can only pull out essentially 2 models, whatever combination of, loadouts you have for equipment, for arms, heads, etc. It physically still only makes essentially 2 Ogryns, where the $80 originally was 6. I believe it was 6. I don't think it was 8. However, this Under Hive Outcasts kit that was released late last year, early this year, it went out of production for a while, came back. I thought it went out again, but unless they refreshed this recently, this wasn't available. And it can build up to 12. A lot of folks were using this for their cultist armies, whether Chaos or Gene Stealer. I prefer to use these for Gene Stealer and for Necromunda. That's just how I intend to use them. That being said, this new preview, it looks like maybe they're only going to get 1 sprue, and they might be pulling this set off. So just be aware of that. If you were on the fence and you live here in the States about getting this would be a great time to consider picking this one up, because I believe the future version is only going to be 4 models. I don't know what the price point yet is on this. I was going to talk to my local hobby store. Sometimes they're willing to share some of their prices when they go to pre-order, sometimes not. Now, the other thing, I had a subscriber on my YouTube channel talk about this. Up until literally this Sunday, there was still some gray area on when the new Delaque expansion was going to be coming out. And it looks like right now, that question's been answered. It's going to be a pre-order next Saturday. So that's super cool. These are different, of course, from what you get with the expansion packs from Forge World. Speaking of things that are out of stock, in stock, and going back and forth, GW's caught up quite a bit since the summer, and then coming into the holidays, it looks like almost everything is back in stock for the most part. But if we come down here to the Delaque, you have Delaque set 1 and 2. They do things a little bit differently with Forge World. You have heads and weapons separately, where if you go back to this preview, in the plastic versions of these upgrades, you get weapons and heads, and they are different designs. So there's pros and cons to that. But what I wanted to point out was that the head components are quite different. In the older Necromunda expansion heads from Forge World, you had a lot of you had some hooded options, mask options, of course, but not necessarily a lot of cybernetic type upgrades. But if you look at this, and this is kind of hard to see, sometimes they let you zoom in on it, sometimes they don't. Let's see if I can open up this image in another tab. Here we go. Right on. So these are significantly different, I think. The cybernetic enhancements, they look more integrated into the actual features of the model, whereas these don't seem to be that way. Or if they are, they're more like there's a jaw ventilator mask. This one in particular looks like it might be kind of like integrated. So there's a couple, but as you can tell, they're definitely different than what we see here. Let me see if I can resize this a little bit more so we can do a little bit apples to apples comparison. It's my point being is I think there's still value in the Forge World upgrades versus the Necromunda, the actual Games Workshop releases. I'll be curious too. I'm wondering if these heads are just better off with the expansion model. So for example, if we go to the Delaque expansion, the original release from a couple years ago, and then they did like an upgraded expansion pack. You'll notice the point of this is the heads for Forge World also incorporate the neck, which is kind of necessary for the original release of the Delaque gang. But for this expansion set, you might have to trim out the neck to fit into these new sculpts. Whereas the new expansion pack, right, it's just the head only. Will probably work pretty well with the new designs. But again, with the old designs, there might be some tweaking involved to make those work. Maybe not. Like I said, I just know that with these, the neck's included, and I didn't really pick up on that so much on the other expansions, like the ones for Escher, the ones for the Orlocks, the one for Vansars. It's just not as obvious. Like, you don't really see the neck so much on like the Goliaths, again, or the Orlocks on their Forge World variants, but like the Orlocks here, for example, again, no necks, and that holds true with the Delaque as well. Now, that all being said, so there are some subtle differences. If you have the old Forge World stuff, do you really need these plastic equivalents now from Games Workshop? You don't need them, but I do like working with plastic on plastic. The connection points fuse better, especially with plastic glue. You don't have to pin as much. I find with the resin stuff from Forge World, you got to do more pinning. And the actual, let's go ahead and bring up the Sunday preview again. The actual loadouts are a little bit different. The posing, in other words. There's a little bit more variety in the posing, it looks like, from the Forge World equivalents. There's probably pros and cons to this as well. So I guess my overall thoughts on it. This is kind of my first take deep dive. I think there's value to both. But if you have the Forge World, do you need to get the Games Workshop? Maybe not. But being kind of a completist and wanting to see what, the differences are. Like, there's no throwing knife equivalent in the they had the stabby, right? But they don't really have. Now I say that, but there is technically, I believe there's 2 weapon sets for all of these. Yeah. So that was weapon set 1 for Delaque, weapon set 2. So these are, for the most part, the stabby kind. These are throwing. So in that respect, the melee weapon combination with the daggers, there's some variety. With the weapons, it's not so much. Although looking at, there's uniformity, that's a word, with this plastic kit. There's definitely more character, and we'll say non-formality, or just, I guess you could say, things on the Games Workshop site's more symmetrical when it comes to the weapons, where it seems like the loadout, the visuals, the aesthetics of things on the Forge World is more asymmetrical. So there's more personality in the Forge World stuff. There's just more, again, uniformity, maybe that's the word for Games Workshop. And I just realized I had someone critique me on how I say Delaque. It's either Delaque or Delaque. Tomato. Necromunda versus Necromunda. Again, you're from the Midwest, it kind of floats back and forth. It just is what it is. All right, so I wanted to point out the fact that there was some funny coincidence going on with, I had a viewer, a subscriber, I believe, comment on, hey, are we going to get hosed? Is Delaque not going to get their expansion? Did the pandemic mess that up? No, it's a little delayed. The thing is, with the Delaque, it was the last of the original releases. It was the last of the expansion release. And so it makes sense that it would be one of the last, if not the last, for its weapons and head upgrades. I still think outside of Necromunda, there's some value to all of these expansion packs if you wanted to make some characters with personality in your 40k or a kill team. Within Necromunda itself, it's great because you have the opportunity to, if you don't want to play with Delaque specifically, you could play use these components, these elements for your Outcasts, right? Your Under Hive Outcasts. So, the real big story, though, I think, is this Underdog card pack. And you may have saw that where I'm going with this when I was flipping through the screens here just a minute ago. This is essentially a re-release, and it has me wondering, is it just being re-released because of the new models? The Under Hive models? Or is this going to be a trend now for all of Games Workshop? At least in their small box games, right? Because even, you could argue that, well, Blood Bowl, for example, has a new edition, right? Season 2. And they've been re-releasing all the dice, all the cards, all the pitches. Grant, the rules did change a little bit, though. But they've been re-releasing those. The rules for Necromunda haven't changed, and that's kind of the dialogue I wanted to jump into for today. Are we not getting a new rule set because they're re-releasing this card back with the old rules? Or are they just trying to be, hey, this is one of those examples, and we'll see here on eBay, when this Underhive, the Underdog card pack came out, it was one of two. This one and the other one was 177 from the UK, 220 from Australia. Those two card packs, Intrigues and Rackets, and the Underdog card pack, which goes anywhere between low, I was saying 75, it's 68, but when you figure in shipping, it's like 25. So on average, 75 all the way up to this guy's had his for sale forever, 314 bucks. Plus 16 in shipping, so essentially 330. So pretty outrageous prices. And that's the weird thing. Here it is. This will probably be, I think they're 15 bucks. They might go up to 18. Let's see if they have one of the older. 15 bucks, yeah, for the Outcast gang. This is where it opens up this question. And, you know, for those that are following right now, thanks for joining. I don't know how to interpret this because historically, for Blood Bowl, they never reproduced any of those card packs. Once they were sold out, they were sold out until Season 2 came out, and now they're reprinting them, but they're technically new cards. This is technically not a new card. This has been printed before, so it makes me wonder, is Necromunda going to have an updated version of the game? You would imagine it's due for that, but so far we've had essentially 2 new starter sets. We have the Hive War, but then we had the Under Hive, which I don't think is available anymore. That was the $300 box set, or $290. Dark Uprising. Dark Uprising was that box that was like $290 or even $300. That came out, I believe, in 2019. So 2017 or 18 was Under Hive. Then you had Dark Uprising around 2019. And then in 2021, you had Hive War. So if you look at other release models like their Kill Team, it feels like this is possibly due now for a rules refresh. But why would you put this card, a re-release of this card pack, if you're going to have a new version of the game come out soon? I mean, it's not unheard of. For Kill Team, they had that Pariah Nexus expansion box come out, which, you know, whether you loved it or you hate it, it came out, and then within, I think it was like 6 or 8 months, not even a year, you had a whole new version of Kill Team come out. So it makes me wonder, did they just find this in a warehouse somewhere? Is this going to be a limited quantity? Will we see things like that Intrigues and Racket pack come out? Are they going to find some of those somewhere? I mean, I get it probably kind of hoses the aftermarket, which does suck. I've noticed, unless, you know, again, you may have an opinion on that, you may not. I sometimes flip stuff on eBay myself if I don't get a time. You know, that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm okay with GW and how they price things sometimes. It's like, well, if I have to buy all this stuff to play a game and it's pretty pricey, at least it holds its value. Obviously, sometimes it goes up if I ever want to trade it or sell it to invest into something new. Most other game companies, it seems like none of their stuff holds value like Games Workshop stuff does, so you can't do that. So that's the one like real upside with how they operate, but that's a conversation for another time. My point being is, I'm not sure how to interpret them re-releasing this card pack. My initial reaction is this is awesome because I missed it, and if it's anything like this Underhive Outcast card pack, which this one's broken like all the records as far as it didn't sell out at pre-release or pre-order. It didn't sell out like in the first week. It's been available for a couple months now. It came out basically when this Underhive Outcast gang box came out. I don't want to get conspiracy theory on it, but it would be really disheartening if they just goofed up and they're not meant to promote this pack, but they're meant to be promoting this pack because this is the pack that, you know, coincides more with this release. I'm assuming the community didn't biff, but if they did, that's going to be I don't even want to think about that. So that could be a thing. It happened with Kill Team. The community promoted some different terrain box sets, but when they came to market, they were actually upgraded versions, which weren't the same. I doubt this would even go that direction, though, as far as an upgraded version, mostly because the packaging looks identical, right? I'm going back and forth. I think it's identical. So it should be good. Should be good. That has me excited because I really hope that means they reproduce these as well. The Intrigue and Rackets for sure. That's the real big news, is this pack. The expansion upgrade for Delaque is great. Delaque. If they make these into a smaller release, just depends on the cost and whether or not they keep the previous. I think These used to be $35 and they went to, I think, 40 briefly, but now they're 42. Just in general, the cost of these gangs. It depends on what the cost is for 4. If it does a thing like the Ogrins did where you lost a third of the box, but the price only went down a half. In other words, when it was 80 for 6, I don't think it should be 40 for 2, right? If anything, it should be 40 for at least 3. So the value really dropped. If we actually are only getting 4 models, it's 1 sprue, not 3. And it does the half. That means you're gonna get 4, right? For essentially 20. They wouldn't even put it for 21. It'd probably be 4 for 25. That's not the greatest of value. But getting this for 15 versus 3, anywhere between 75 to 300. Yeah, you make it up there. This is probably going to be a Forge World release. But this also kind of brings me back around to, are we going to get a new edition of the game? Because if you've been following the roadmaps for Necromunda, we've reached that point where everything they previewed or teased months ago, or possibly even over a year ago, I don't know where we're at with the status of Necromunda now, right? Like we've now got to that point at least where everything that had been previewed a long time ago is now going to become available to order. Stuff that was never previewed, but briefly, and then now it's here. It's in the wild now, for the most part available. Sometimes it goes temporarily out of stock, but then eventually you just got to keep watching these things and it'll come back in stock. Sometimes relatively soon, fortunately, sometimes months. I have a whole separate video on those shenanigans from last summer. But in any event, that's where things are at with Necromunda, and it makes me think we could go into a new edition anytime now. But this is the one that makes me think if they're re-releasing older product that sold out quickly, kudos. However, I don't know how to interpret this. Are they just going to let Necromunda just kind of stay, which would be nice, stay as is? Or are we going to get a new release? I don't know. I would like to hear your thoughts on that. If you're seeing this on YouTube, comment below. That would be awesome. I'd like to get your thoughts on it. But now I don't know where we go from here. The fact they're re-releasing some of these card packs that were sold out. But my point being is, I believe this is the only one they've actually done a straight reproduction. Whether they found some more in a warehouse somewhere or they're gone back to reprinting these. If they do, I really hope that that's a sign that some of those other ones that were a low production run, they'll become available. And I think if they do that, that pretty much guarantees they're not coming out with a new rule set anytime soon. Which I'm okay with, because frankly, Necromunda and Blood Bowl each kind of deviated from that. We got to have new rule sets every couple years. We'll find out. So that's going to be it for today. Dipping my toes back into streaming because I have been out of commission for a while, but everything is more or less back to normal. Feeling good. Should be able to stream more consistently. I'll update my stream schedule here in the near future, probably later today, if anything, just to kind of get that dialed in. And then these clips, if you didn't see these on Twitch, you'll eventually see these on YouTube. So for those of you that joined me, thank you so much. It's greatly appreciated. And I'll see you all again soon. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.